Continue to talk to their children about threats of violence, what it means. We continue to provide that same level of intense information to our students, helping them understand that it is taken very seriously. And unfortunately, we have a very tragic event that happened in Broward that just makes it more intense and how we must handle these situations.
These students, if they are caught, some of them may think it's just a prank or something, from a school board side, does this mean expulsion, suspension? Talk to me a little about that.
What it means, if a student is caught, whether it is considered, they thought it was a prank, we will execute the full extent of our Code of Student Conduct, which means automatically a 10-day suspension and movement towards expulsion for the school, through the school district.
What's the status of there were 2 threats made this week. Have law enforcement identified who those students are, and if so, are they in school, or what's that status?
Well, the status is law enforcement is still investigating both threats, and for anyone that a student has been identified, no, they are not in our schools, but law enforcement is sort of the lead agency once those issues have been turned over to them. But as a school district, we are moving forward with what I just said about it's a 10-day suspension and then movement for expulsion from school.
Is attendance down today, especially in high schools?
Actually, Manatee High only had 6% attendance of non-attendance. So for the most part, no, our high schools are pretty much having normal attendance.
Was that the case last week too?
Last week,
like following right after the shooting? It
probably was a little higher tick up on non-attendance.
I mean, is there anything you do want to convey to the people who are watching this?
One, we met with law enforcement today, and we are continuing to meet with law enforcement. We will share with our school board in an executive session on safety and security this week. We are reviewing all of our practices, and anything that we feel like is going to be a positive for our schools and we can move forward quickly, we're instituting those practices. It's still all about going back to remind our schools, here are the things that we can do to ensure safety of our students that has no cost to it, and then also looking at things that we've already budgeted for and making sure that we're moving those items quickly higher on the priority list and getting them in place as soon as possible.
Is it safe to say we'll soon be seeing more active shooter situations for students practicing?
Well, I think it's safe to say that we are continuing our plan. We already had a plan in place of how many times they're going to do a practice. We deal with that plan differently by level. It's a little different in elementary versus our secondary schools, but we are moving forward to ensure, one, that our leadership is fully informed, our staff are informed, and then now we're practicing with our students so that they are informed about what to do in case a situation happens on their campus.
I know Governor Scott is having a meeting today with educators. Is there someone from the Bradenton, Manatee area that has a voice up in Tallahassee today?
Actually, our guidance counselor of the year, she is there attending that meeting, as well as other local law enforcement officials from Manatee are participating in that meeting today.
How much longer can parents expect to see that increased law enforcement presence on school campuses?
In our meeting with Sheriff Wells, the goal is to continue it for as long as we feel like we need that. And so that's why I'm meeting with all law enforcement agencies again next week to make sure that we have a very strong plan in place for the remainder of this school year.
How many extra officers? Are you saying double on campus? Or are you saying depending on the school?
Well, all of our secondary schools have an SRO. So our middle and high schools have SROs. It's the elementary where we, for the city schools, we have rotating 5 officers that rotate amongst the elementary schools. Palmetto, we have a police officer at Palmetto Elementary. So now it's to close those gaps. We also have a police officer at Anna Maria Elementary from Holmes Beach. So we have officers already on many of our campuses, but the goal is to ensure that every campus has some form of presence throughout the day. So it may be an officer is just driving on the perimeter of that school to check in and out on those schools. It really just depends on each school, their location. But our secondaries, they have permanent SROs that are on their campus all day.
A lot of these incidents that have happened have involved students or former students or somebody that had been expelled. How are they dealing, teachers and students, inside the classrooms and inside the school with these situations so that they can start security right from the ground level?
Well, our schools have lockdown procedures on what if something happens on their campus. We've also sent information out to all of our schools, to our teachers and our administrators about how to have a conversation about school violence. Our school psychologist has done a phenomenal job ensuring that they are available to talk to students if need be. Our guidance counselors are also on campus to talk to students. As soon as it happened, we did send out a connected message making sure parents, hey, talk to your child. If you need help talking to your child, please contact your school, because we do have professionals who can have conversations with students who may have a feeling of anxiety, or whether students are see something, say something. Last night I received an email from a parent from one of her child suffers from anxiety, and the parent was thanking the principal because that principal had made their child feel so comfortable and safe at school that she felt like, I didn't need to stay out of school. I can go to school because I feel like we are being protected.
All right. I had heard mentioned that they were increasing not only the law enforcement around the schools and with the resource officers, but also adding administrative staff to go to some of these schools. What kind of administrative staff is going, and are they also sending the behavior specialists?
Our behavior techs are being sent out to all of our schools, as well as district leadership. We've asked everyone to go to their school where they are the liaison. They're there in the morning and they're going back in the afternoon. Schools such as Manatee High, we sent extra people there to just be another set of eyes to provide that support. So yes, all of our schools are receiving not only an increased presence from law enforcement, but an increased presence from the school district with behavior specialists, behavior techs, our coordinators of ESE, and just individuals who are school liaisons are on those campuses.
Thank you.